everyone! My name is Vanilla Jingga Keisa Tahta and I'm a student from Universitas Negeri Semarang. Today, I'll be telling a story based on the theme Connecting Cultures Through Knowledge. Have you ever imagined that the handwritten letter quietly hidden inside a book could change the world? It traveled across oceans and languages, from an Indonesian girl, Seruni, to a Russian boy, Ilya. And it became the bridge for an incredible story neither of them expected. Hi, I'm Seruni. I've always been excited to tell people about my sincere friendship with my long-distance friend, Ilya. It all began last year when I visited a local library in town. There, I saw a poster about an international cultural book exchange program. Curious and interested, I decided to take part in it. All I had to do was write a short letter, a brief introduction about myself, and something interesting about my country. I chose a book about Indonesian folklore and slipped my little letter wrapped in a pink envelope. One day, I received a package. I read the sentence name carefully. Ilya. I paused for a moment. It didn't sound like any of my Indonesian friends. I double-checked it just to make sure it was really meant for me. I opened the package and found a book about Russian fairy tales along with a tangerine envelope. The handwriting was unfamiliar and the return address clearly showed it had come from Russia. In this letter, he said he was happy to meet me. He asked how I was doing and introduced himself. His name is Ilya and he's from Russia. He told me he lives in a small city known for its beautiful architecture. It's a peaceful place and he enjoys the quiet vibes. Just like me, he is in his final year of high school. Ilya said thank you for sharing about Kota Lama. He had never heard of it before, but after looking it up, he said the buildings really do look European. He found it fascinating that such architecture exists in a tropical country like Indonesia. He also said he was so excited to learn more about Indonesia and wanted to share more about his country too. He added the letter with the word in Russian, Do svidaniya, and added a little note saying it means goodbye. That was the first letter I received from him. Since then, I've kept all his letters in this box, each one filled with his stories and thoughts, and I'm still waiting for the next one to arrive. I started writing back on a piece of paper. To answer his curiosity why Kota Lama has European-style architecture, I explained that based on the history, Indonesia was colonized by the Netherlands for centuries. So the buildings in Kota Lama are legacies of the Dutch colonial period. They've been well preserved. I also shared that some Indonesian words are actually loan words from Dutch. In the letter, I asked him, what do you love most about your country? Not forgetting our cultural heritage, I introduced him to batik, a traditional Indonesian pattern that has been recognized by UNESCO. I explained that batik is often worn together with kebaya, a traditional blouse worn by women during cultural or formal events. I also told him how I became really curious about the Russian alphabet. Lastly, I ended my letter with the word in my mother tongue, Sampai jumpa. After some time, I received another letter from Ilya. He told me that some Russian actually came from French. Long ago, French was a popular language among the nobles, he wrote. I thought that was really interesting, just like how Indonesian has some Dutch loanwords because of our history. Then he answered the question I asked in my last letter. What I like the most about my country is the food, he said. He told me about pelmeni, a kind of Russian meat dumpling. He also looked at kebaya and said it was so beautiful that made me smile. In return, he introduced sarafan and rubaka, traditional Russian clothes. He even told me about kokloma, a bright red and gold pattern used in Russian crafts. I looked it up online and it was so pretty and detailed. Because I said I was curious about the Russian alphabet, he told me it's called Cyrillic. Now it's my turn again. I want to tell him about my favorite Indonesian food. I wrote nasi kuning. Since he shared about kokloma, I should tell him more about batik patterns such as parang and mega mendung. We exchanged pieces of our traditions. Ilya shared about Maslenitsa, a Russian spring festival filled with pancakes and joyful celebrations. It reminded me of Dukderan in Semarang, where people gather before Ramadan, celebrating with parades, food, and the iconic Warak Ngendok. Through traditions, we found reflection in each other's worlds. Seruni and Ilya's friendship continues to this day. Now that they're both college students, they still write letters to each other, sharing more stories and knowledge about their cultures. Even though they've never met in person, distance has never stopped their connection. They both dream of visiting each other's countries one day to see the beautiful places, experience the cultures firsthand, and finally meet with the person they've known through paper and ink. From one heart to another, thank you for listening to this story of culture and connection. Until we meet again in another story. Goodbye.
We are dancing in a world full of dreams, where the moonlight softly beams. There's a place